Good morning. Thank you all for coming out and give us a few minutes to work through the situation and give you this briefing. I want to introduce some of the folks that I have here with me. I have Assistant City Manager Ray Ariano over Public Safety. The Austin Police Monitor Farrah Muscadin is here. We've also got the District Attorney Margaret Moore, and then members of all of our teams here are here. We had a officer-involved incident occur this morning, an officer-involved shooting. Officers responded at 7:38 a.m. We received a call to the 4700 block of Chiapero. The initial call was that there was a woman screaming and a male that was cursing at her and telling her to shut up. As officers were involved on the way to the scene, the 911 operator could hear in the background the woman stating that "you're hurting me." Additional 911 calls came in revolving this incident, and we had a second caller who reported that the suspect had a gun. So at this time we had multiple officers en route to this reported disturbance, and at 7:41 we had a call that reported the suspect had left the scene in a black vehicle. We also had another report that the suspect had actually walked off into the neighborhood. So we were getting multiple reports at this time about where the suspect was and what his actions were. Our first officer arrived on scene at 7:42 and made contact with the victim of the initial assault, who at this time we believe to be the suspect's mother. What we believe took place, based on what the reports we have now, are that the suspect knocked on the door, and when the mother answered the door, he produced a handgun, pointed it at her, demanded her to get on her knees, and then physically assaulted her. At this point, the suspect left the residence, and we received the 911 calls for assistance. Our officers also received a report that when the suspect left the residence after assaulting the person we believe to have been his mother, he went several houses down the street and did damage to one of the vehicles by stabbing multiple tires on that vehicle. We then had a report at 7:44 from neighbors advising that the suspect had at that time gotten in a vehicle and driven away. Our officers remained on scene, investigating the assault that had taken place along with the criminal mischief, and then several officers also came into the neighborhood trying to locate the suspect, given the violent acts that had already been taking place, the belief that he was in possession of a firearm, and we did not necessarily know where he was now that he had left that immediate neighborhood. At 8:48 a.m., one of our officers spotted the suspect vehicle and pulled in behind it, alerting other officers that he had found that vehicle. Again, that was at 8:48 a.m. And at 8:50 a.m., when the officers had attempted to make a traffic stop, the suspect failed to stop and instead engaged in a pursuit. This pursuit lasted approximately 10 minutes, and having watched a good part of the dash cam video, I can tell you that the suspect was driving very aggressively, very dangerously, going through stop signs, driving on the wrong sides of roads to pass vehicles. So again, this was a very dangerous situation. As the pursuit proceeded northbound on Mesa behind us, the lead officer had an opportunity to engage in a pursuit intervention technique that we use, where we try to immobilize the vehicle by spinning the back end around. When he engaged that vehicle, he was in fact able to successfully pit it, which is where you see the vehicle positioned behind us up against the median, and then the officer immediately pulled up to the front of the vehicle to avoid it from driving off again. What again is visible on the in-car camera at that point is, as the officer is getting out of his vehicle, giving commands to the suspect to show his hands, the suspect can be seen exiting the driver's side door, immediately producing a handgun, and he begins firing upon our officer. Our officers again engaged him. He ran around the back of his vehicle, and you can hear an exchange of gunfire continue until the point that it ceases and the officers begin giving commands to the suspect of where to place his hands. At that point, the officers were able to go up and take the suspect into custody, and the suspect has since been transported to a local hospital and is undergoing surgery for the injuries that he sustained, that being gunshot wounds. We believe him to be a 27-year-of-age white male, and the officers involved in this incident, both officers fired their weapons. There were multiple officers involved in the pursuit. 2 officers engaged the suspect with gunfire when fired upon, and those officers have each been with us approximately 5 years. As is our standard protocol, those officers will be placed on administrative duty while we conduct the many investigations that are going on right now. One is the administrative investigation regarding the officer's actions for compliance with APD policy. There's a concurrent criminal investigation going on right now that is being directed by the district attorney to ensure that the actions out here are compliant with state law as well. And the Office of the Police Monitor is here again overseeing the internal investigation. So what we have, is a very dangerous situation. A suspect who was armed, who had physically assaulted who we believe to be his mother, again after producing a weapon and pointing it at her. There was an absolute need to take this suspect into custody, not knowing where he may go or what other violent acts may occur. And that's what resulted in the incident that played out here behind us earlier this morning. It is still an ongoing investigation, and so there's not a lot more information we can release at this time. This is all the preliminary information that we have. However, I will open it up for a few brief questions.
Chief, who is the first woman that was at play? Was this his girlfriend, and then it migrated to his mother's house? Is that how it all started?
The reports that we have right now, we believe that the first person involved was his mother. Again, this is all preliminary. We still have investigators over at that scene that are working through what happened at the call where this originated.
So, call, shouting, that he leaves the house, then comes back and assaults her.
No. What we have right now is that we were dispatched to a disturbance that we believe was the initial disturbance between the suspect and his mother. That's how we understand it right now.
And we don't know what happened between the two of them?
As far as what happened between the two of them, we know that he showed up at the door, he knocked on the door. When she opened the door, he produced a firearm, pointing it at her, demanding her to get on his knees, and then physically assaulted her.
I guess I meant we don't know why he might have been upset with her.
That's part of the ongoing investigation.
And is that when the shouting happened? It wasn't shouting before and then that, or?
There was shouting throughout, it sounds like, this incident based on the multiple 911 calls that we received.
Does he live with his mother? Does he
I
live
don't know that
location?
at this time.
And then were any residents in the area possibly injured or affected by this? I saw multiple cars at the scene.
I'm not aware of any injuries to any other subjects, whether there was property damage outside of the vehicle, the tires that he slashed. I'm not sure of property damage that may have occurred during the pursuit. Again, the pursuit lasted for approximately 10 minutes.
Does this individual have any prior history with the Austin Police Department? Have y'all made any kind of response calls to that location?
We have had prior involvement with this individual. I'm not going to go into that today, but this was an individual who was known to us.
And a weapon was recovered?
Yes, there is a firearm that's actually on the sidewalk behind us here at the scene. That is the firearm that the suspect used.
What type was it?
I don't know. It's a semi-automatic handgun.
Last question. Thank you.
Thank you.